Yeah, I know.
All right, here we go. Let's just zip through a practice test. So I've got there's going to be, I've got some good news for you. I think I may have already kind of let the cat out of the bag on this one, but I was planning on doing a comprehensive final for first semester. Because we've missed so much school, we're not moving this semester deadline. I'm not going to do that. Your final will be the non-graphing and the graphing calculator parts of the Module 4 test. That's it. The graphing calculator part is unbelievably simple. I mean, I think it's an absolute free 100%. I'll let you use Desmos on it, right? So it's going to basically be probably 6 questions. It's going to be graphing. I'm going to give you the equation of a circle, and you pick the right graph. I mean, what would you do? Just put it in Desmos, graph it in Desmos, and then find the graph on Moodle that matches the Desmos graph. Easy. Same thing for a parabola. I'll also have you then solve a 2x2 linear system, right, using technology where you're just going to graph both lines and find the intersection. Once again, you can just use Desmos. You don't even have to solve for y if you use Desmos. Just type in the equation as it is. And then I'll have you do probably 2 where you're going to intersect a parabola with a line. But with Desmos, that is just, I mean, really all I want you to demonstrate for me is that you can use Desmos to answer these questions, right? The non-graphing calculator is going to be the algebra, kind of more of the algebra test, and that's the one I want to go through today. It's going to be 14 questions. This is exactly it that we're going through today. The practice test is identical to the test. So you can go through this at home. I'll put both of these up. I'm going to do this. I've already done it first period or second period. I'll do it this period, and I'll do it in my 7th period Algebra 2 class, so I'll have 3 versions of the practice test up, just in case you want to watch it more than once with different questions. It's up to you, okay? But it's all going to be there. So let's zip through this. So it says write the simplified standard form equation of the circle with center -8, -10, and radius 8. So this is pretty simple. If you look on the board for the standard form equation of a circle, it's just this, right? X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where the center of the circle has coordinates hk and the radius is r. I'm just plugging that stuff in. So this is that simple. All we're doing here is we're just literally plugging in, what's h? -8. So this is just going to be x minus -8. So x plus 8 quantity squared plus y minus -10. So y plus 10 squared equals 8 squared. What's 8 squared? So that's what I would input into Moodle. That's my answer. Okay, that's it. Right? No big deal. Okay. Next question. Write the simplified standard form equation of the circle with, same thing, right? Same thing, the only difference this time is just, what's the value of h? 0, so how would I write that then? How would I write x minus h squared? Yeah, just x squared plus y minus 16, it'd be y plus 16 squared equals 11 squared, it's 121. That's it, right? That's my answer. So everybody facing the front, please. Everybody going through this with me. Next one, write the simplified standard form equation of the circle with center 16, 6, and containing the point 22. Okay, so this one's a little different. This time they're giving us 2 of the 3, but not the third, right? They're giving us h and k, but they're not giving us r. We're going to have to find r, right? So we'll go back to our standard form equation of a circle and plug in what we know. So this is hk, right? What's this? And they give us a point. What's that? Yeah, that's a value of x and y that work, isn't it? Right? So those are the variables, right? So we're never going to leave those in our answer, but those are values of x and y that we could use to solve for r. or r squared, right? So this really, we do this kind of in two parts. So first we could plug in these values of h and k. And then we could plug in the values of x and y so we could figure out what r is, right? So I could plug in 20 for x and 2 for y. And if I do that, what's 20 minus 16? Squared. So that whole term just becomes 16. What's 2 minus 6?
-4.
Squared. Okay, so this whole thing just becomes 16. So then what's that equal to?
36.
So 32 is what we're going to plug in for r squared, right? So what's our answer then? Well, our answer would just be, is just going to be x minus 16 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals 32. Right? Now I've plugged in all the values. I've named my circle. I've plugged in the coordinates of the center, and I've plugged in r squared. So I can figure out what's the radius then if I wanted to find it. Is the square root of 32, whatever that number is. Yeah. Okay, because r squared is 32. Okay. Okay? But that's our answer for Moodle. That's all they wanted. They wanted it in standard form. Okay? Questions? Okay. What do I want to do? Okay, so what about this one? They give us the standard form equation of a circle. This is pretty simple, right? They're giving us standard form, and we have to just inspect that equation to find the parameters of the circle. So what's going to be the point, Everett, what's going to be the center point here? H and K. What's the value of H?
5.
-5.
-5, right? This is telling us right here that H is -5, right? Because that's positive, right? So we get -5, comma, -2. So that's telling us K equals -2. And what's the radius going to be? Kylie Z, what's the radius going to be? If r squared is 144, 12, yeah. That's it, right? Okay, and I think in Moodle it would just tell us to enter those separated by a comma, right? So we would just do, in Moodle it would look like this. That's what we would input, right? Okay? No big deal? All right, so now we're supposed to, oh, I think I skipped one. Pretty sure I skipped one. Seems like there was. No. Maybe not. Okay, so that's what we got. That's fine. Choose the graph corresponding to the equation below. Okay? So what are we going to do? Is that going to be, what kind of shape is that going to be? And why? Say it again. It's going to be a circle. Very good. It's going to be a circle because notice that in the standard form equations for parabolas, either x is being squared or y is being squared, but not both. But in a circle, both x and y are being squared, right? So we know this is going to be a circle. So we've just got to match this to the standard form for a circle, right? So remember, standard form for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, so I've got to complete the square then for both x and y, don't I? Because I've got to be able to write the x and y parts of this equation as perfect squares, right? squared factors. Right? So then we're going to collect, how do we do that? Well, complete the square. We'll collect the x terms together and leave space to create a perfect square, right? Plus, we'll collect the y terms together, leave a space to create a perfect square, and then we're going to push that 9 over to the other side by subtracting 9 to the other side, right? Okay, so then what's that mean we're going to get? What number are we going to combine, Eli, with the x to create a perfect square for x's? Negative 5, very good. Half of negative 10. So because that's a negative 10, we're going to get x minus 5 squared. So what's the value of h then? Just 5, isn't it? Right? So if we were trying to we're choosing the graph, right? So we would know that we could summarize all this information right now. We could say, okay, we know that h is 5 from that factor right there. We're going to keep going, though. We're not done. Okay, so back on track here. So that's a negative 5. What number would I have to add to both sides to make that happen? I'd have to fill in the blank with a 25. That's what people were thinking of. Gotcha. Okay, good. What about the y's? Okay, so Hannah, what number am I going to combine with y?
3.
3, good. Half of positive 6 is positive 3, good. And so that's telling me then, what's k? Negative 3, very good, okay. And what red number would we have to add to both sides to make that happen? 9. Good. And so that's leaving us on the other side then. Well, the negative 9 and the 9 cancel, and I just get a 25. So what's r? 5, good. So r is 5. Okay, so let's grab this guy, and let's go find this one. Oh, can I not paste that? Oh, what were the, thought I could. So going back here, so we had, the coordinates were 5, negative 3, radius 5. Let me summarize that. So right, h and k were 5 and negative 3, so we just have to go find that circle. Centered at 5, negative 3. So there's 5, negative 3, radius of 5. That's it, isn't it? Right there. Over 5, down 3. And the radius is 5. So that's our answer right there. Okay. Okay, next problem. Write the simplified standard form equation of the parabola with vertex negative 3, 1 and focus 1, 1. This is a new kind of question. I haven't given you one like this, but I thought this would be a good idea. This is a pretty easy problem though, right? Because they're giving us the vertex and the focus. All I've got to do is graph those 2 points properly, and it's pretty easy to get all the information that I need, right? So if the vertex is at negative 3, 1, so let's make this B, and the focus is at 1, 1. So you tell me, if I want to, I could put this on the XY plane too. Maybe that makes it, let's do that. Maybe that makes it a little bit easier to get these things oriented properly. So if the vertex is back 3 and up 1, there's V, right? The focus is at positive 1, 1, so it's right there. So does this, describe this parabola to me then. What's it going to look like? To the which way? To the right, good. It's gonna go through the vertex and swallow the focus, right? It always swallows the focus, so it's gonna do that. So it's a horizontal parabola opening in the positive right direction, okay? What are the values of h and k? What's h?
Is it -3?
-3. What's k?
No.
1, right? Because those are just, h and k, those are the coordinates of the vertex by definition, right? That's what h and k are. And then what's going to be the value of p?
4.
Yeah, right? Because that arrow is 4 long. I'm going from this point to this point, which means I'm traveling +4, right? So then all I've got to do is just plug this information into the appropriate standard form equation. Well, which one's it going to be? If it's a horizontal parabola, which variable is being squared? Y's. Good. So this is going to look like y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h. And I'm just plugging those values in. So I'm just plugging in -3 for k. Whoops, sorry, 1 for k. Right? Everybody see that? -3 for h and 4 for p. So what do I get then? The quantity y minus 1 squared equals 4 times 4 is 16 times x minus -3 would be x plus 3. So that's the answer I would input in Moodle, right? Make sense? Okay. What about this guy? Same kind of a thing, only this time they're giving us a directrix and a focus. So we've done some problems like this already. So let's graph these. The directrix is y equals 1, horizontal or vertical line? Vertical, because if I were to draw it on the xy plane, it would cut through the y-axis, right? So it's got to be a horizontal line. So I've got the line, the directrix, y equals 1, and I've got the focus at 0, 3. Where's that going to be located relative to that horizontal line, above or below? How come?
Never mind, it's above.
It's above, isn't it? Because the y value 3 is higher than the y value 1, isn't it? Right, so it's going to be up here. So there's my focus at 0, 3, and the vertex has to go halfway in between, right? Okay, so what do we think here? So, Austin, what are the coordinates of the vertex going to be? Which one's going to be the same coordinate, the x or the y? The x is, because they line up vertically, right? So they're over the same amount sideways, and then the y coordinate is going to be what? It's going to be 2. Good. 2, because it's going to be the average of these y coordinates. It's going to be halfway in between y equals 3 and y equals 1. 3 plus 1 is 4, divided by 2 is 2, right? So there's my vertex. So those are the values of h and k. And then p is the vector starting where and ending where? Good, v to f. Perfect. Vertex to focus. And so what's p equal to? 1. Yeah, good. That's 1.
What does that give? Why do we use that? 3 months.
Why do we need p? Because we're going to write the standard form equation, so we've got to be able to plug in a value of p.
Or what?
Okay, so the standard form equation now, this is a vertical parabola, right? So the standard form equation is going to be the x variable is being squared. And so it's going to be x minus h quantity squared equals 4p times y minus k. I got to be able to plug all those 3 things in, right? So I'm plugging in 0 for h, 3 for k, and 1 for p, right? So what's that look like? X minus 0 squared is what? X squared. 4 times 1 is 4 times the quantity y minus 3. So that's what I would input in Moodle. That's the standard form equation for that parabola, right? Okay? Good. How about this guy? Choose the graph of the parabola and focus corresponding to the equation below. Okay, so this is given to us in standard form. We can just inspect this and find all the information, right? So Emma, what are the values of h and k here? Good, good. So h is 1, perfect, and k is? Good. Now what about p? Nick, what's going to be the value of p? Well, that's 4p, right? 4p is negative 16, so what would that make p? Negative 4, good. So those 3 pieces of information tell us everything we need to know. So we got the vertex is going to be at the point 1, 4. Which variable is being squared? X is being squared, so this is a vertical parabola. P is negative though, so which way is it opening? Down, good. So P is negative 4 and it should look like that, right? Okay, so I think that must be right there. Right there. Right, so we summarize this by saying we had coordinates, wasn't it 1, 4? Oh yeah, there we go, 1, 4, and P equaled negative 4, right? That was our summary, so it opens down. So we just gotta find that parabola. Okay, now this one's wrong, how come? Over 1 up 4 opens down, but what's wrong? P's the wrong value, isn't it? P needs to be negative 4. This value of P right here is only negative 1, right? So we got to keep going. No. Okay, that looks better right there, doesn't it? Over 1 up 4 is our vertex, and sure enough, P is negative 4. So that's the winner. Okay? Make sense? Oh. Okay, same kind of thing. Only this time, we'll just do the work right on here. This time we've got to locate this parabola, but what's the difference this time? It's a little tougher. It's not given to us in standard form, right? So we got to put it into standard form. Which variable is being squared? X. So this is going to be a vertical parabola, so we got to match it to this standard form. X minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. All right. So then, what do I have to do to the x's to make it look like that? Here I've just got an x squared minus 6x. That doesn't look like the quantity x minus something squared. What do I have to do? Complete the square. Very good. So I'm going to gather the x terms together on the left. So that's my x squared minus 6x space, right? And then on the other side, the 12y minus 21, I'm going to subtract those terms to the other side, right? So I'm going to, over here, I'm going to get a negative 12y minus 21. Okay, so Lacey, what's the number that's going to go with x inside the quantity? In other words, what's h going to be? 3. It could be half of that, isn't it? Half of negative 6, right? And that means what number do I have to add to both sides? So I'm going to fill in the blank with a, what do I have to do to that? Mallory? 9. Good, I got to square that, don't I? Got to square -3. And so then on the other side, what are we going to be left with? So we're left with a negative 12y minus 12. Okay? Now here's the last step, right? So far so good. The left side looks perfect. We can see what h is, but we can't see what p and k are yet, right? On the right side, remember that this has got to end up looking like, something times y, minus k, right? So then what goes out front? Well, what goes out front is whatever started off being multiplied by y. I've got to undistribute that from both terms. So what am I left with? If I undistribute the -12, well, -12 times y would give me my -12y, but -12 times what gives me -12? 1, right? So that must be a 1 there, is what's left over after I undistribute or factor out the -12. So my final answer then just looks like this. X minus 3 squared equals -12 times the quantity y plus 1. So let's summarize. You already told me this is telling me that h is 3. What does this tell me right here? That what equals -1? K equals -1. Good. What is this telling me?
That P is
-3, right? Because that's 4p, so I got to divide that number by 4, and p equals -3. Okay, so we got vertex has coordinates 3, -1, and p is -3. Well, if this is going to be a vertical parabola and p is negative, in what direction does it open? It's got to open down, doesn't it? So we know that that's what we're looking for. Okay, there's our summary. Let's go find it. Okay. So vertical parabola opening down. Oops. Okay, there's a vertical parabola opening down, but wrong vertex. Okay, that could be it, right? So over 3, down 1. In fact, that is it, isn't it? Right? Over 3 and down 1. They don't give us a focus. So we can't be too specific. We just, in this case, need to know where's the vertex and which direction does it open. So P is negative, so that's it, right? Make sense? Okay. Okay, so now we're on to solving a linear system. Okay, so what technique are we probably going to use to solve this one? Substitution, sure. It's already solved for y, isn't it? So we'll put a box around the substitution equation, and we're going to substitute for y in the top equation, right? So what's that top equation become then? Let's see, we get 2x plus 4 times, open a set of parentheses, right? Because if we're substituting for y, we're going to have to plug something in for y. So just open up a quantity there to plug it in. Equals -12. And what goes in there? 5x plus 41. Okay, so then, Angelica, what am I going to get if I clean this up? What do I have to do to clean this up? Okay, I'm going to distribute the 4 and combine like terms. So that's going to give me 2x plus what? If I distribute the 4, what am I going to get? Good. 20x plus, what's 4 times 41? 4 times 40 would be 160. 4 times 1 is 4, so 164. Okay, combine like terms, good. So 2x plus 20x is 22x. Let's go ahead and subtract, how about 164 from both sides? So I'm going to get 22x equals negative 12 and negative 164 is negative 176. Okay, last step. Divide by 22. And what's that give us, 6? No.
8.
8. Negative 8, okay? So if x is negative 8, where would I go, Nick, to get the value of y?
You plug it into the y.
Good, go back to the box substitution equation and plug it in. If I plug in negative 8, what's 5 times negative 8? Negative 40, good, plus 41? 1. So y equals 1. So we just want the ordered pair, so we'd write it in Moodle as negative 8, comma 1. That's it, right? Okay, good? You good?
When is this test gonna be?
Tomorrow. I'll open it up tomorrow.
So we'll be in the lab tomorrow?
Is it going there? Come on now. There we go. Okay, same kind of thing. We're just going to solve another linear system. Okay, this time, what technique we're going to use? Elimination, good. So what should we multiply, which equation, and what should I multiply by?
The bottom by 3.
By 3 or by negative 3, right? I'm going to make it negative 3. They both work. I'd have to subtract if I multiply by 3. I prefer adding. So we'll leave the top one alone. Bottom one will multiply by negative 3. And that's going to give us on the top, same thing we started with, negative 6x minus 12y equals 18 on the bottom. Multiplying by negative 3 gives me what? 6x. Equals 18. Okay, so if I add those together, the x's cancel and the y's cancel. So I get 0 on the left. What do I get on the right? 36. Okay, nonsense. What's that mean? No solutions. Good, no solutions. So in Moodle, we would just enter NS, right? Okay. Okay, more of the same. Okay, what's my strategy this time? Substitution. Good. Oh, well, I could. I could isolate x, couldn't I? Pretty easily. That would work. Everybody see that? I could just add negative 3 to this side and get x equals negative 3 plus 11. Put a box around it and substitute. That's fine. That would work. How about if we do an elimination one? What could I multiply something by? Good. Bottom by negative 3. Top one would just be 3x minus 4y equals negative 19. Bottom would be what? Come on now, help me out here. Negative 3x minus 9y equals good, negative 33. If I add those up, x's cancel. That's good. I eliminated the x's. Negative 4y and negative 9y is what? Negative 13y. Negative 19 and negative 33 is negative 52. What do I do? By negative 13 and get y equals 4. Where do I go to find x? Yeah, probably bottom one. Right, if I plug this y value in right there, I get x equals 3 times 4, whoops, x plus 3 times 4. So x plus 12 equals 11, subtract 12 from both sides and get what? Yeah, x is -1, y is 4, so in Moodle, I just enter the ordered pair -1, 4. That's it. Okay? All right, last couple are solving linear quadratic systems. Take a quick look at these. So what if I've got something like this guy? Okay, what's my strategy here? Let's talk about this one. We're getting a little bit more careful with this. It's not horrible. But what are we going to do? Carolyn, which variable is being squared in the quadratic equation? So which one should I probably substitute for? Y. Good. And notice the bottom equation is already solved for y. So there's my substitution equation, right? That's what's going to go in there. So then that makes my top equation x squared equals, instead of a y, we got the quantity x plus 9 plus 3. So if I combine like terms, x squared equals x plus 12, right? So now what? What am I going to do with this? Okay, so I can't square root because I can't isolate x. I don't have a single x. Say it again. I could complete the square. I could. But I got to get it into standard form maybe to start with. So let's put everything on the left side. I'll subtract x from both sides and subtract 12 to get it equal to 0. Now you got a choice. Now we can solve this using any of the choices from Module 3. But which is the easiest one that we should probably just audition first? Magic numbers, yeah. If we don't get magic numbers, then you could complete the square, or you could use the quadratic formula. Either one would be fine, right? We're only looking for real solutions though, right? So if we get i's, we're done. Well, are there magic numbers here? What would they have to multiply to and add to? They have to multiply to what? To -12 and add to -1. What numbers do that? Multiply to -12 and add to -1. They multiply to a negative, there's got to be a positive and a negative, right? Yeah, so it'd be -4 and +3, right? Does that make sense? So then what are my solutions going to be for x? Either x equals what? Because I got to use the zero product property now, right? I've got this factored, but the magic numbers are not the solutions, right? Those are just the numbers we needed to factor in. So the product of x minus 4 and x plus 3 would equal 0 when either x minus 4 is 0 or x plus 3 is 0. What value of x makes x minus 4 0? 4. So either x equals 4 or x equals -3, and where would I go to find corresponding y values? Boxed equation, right there, right? So if I plug in 4, what's 4 plus 9? 13, so there's one ordered pair. -3 plus 9. Okay, so in Moodle, I would just enter the ordered pair 413, comma, ordered pair -3, 6. Right? That's how it wanted me to express my answer. Right? Okay, last one. And we got this. Okay, how about this guy? So what do I do this time? Yeah, substitute for x. Good. Y is being squared. So let's substitute for x. And that's going to give us y squared equals negative the quantity y minus 8 minus 2. So what do I have to do to simplify that on the right side? Riley, what do I have to do probably first?
Something with a -2.
Combine with a -2. What about that negative out front? That's really a -1. Okay, I could, but that's going to be complicated. So I got to divide everything. How about if I just distribute, right? And I know that looks a little weird when you have a negative in front of a quantity, but really that just implies a -1. So what's that do if we distribute the -1 all the way through? Good, I'm going to get negative y plus 8. Good. Now if I combine the like terms, we get y squared equals negative y plus 6. Now what? What am I going to do? Yeah, put everything on the right, on the left side, set it equal to 0. Good. So we get y squared, we'll add the y to the left, subtract the 6 to the left. Once again, we can solve this quadratic equation any way, but let's try magic numbers. Are there magic numbers that multiply to -6 and add to 1? 3 and -2? Good. So then what are my solutions? Either y equals what? -3 or y equals 2. If we go back and plug those in, what are the x values we get? -3 minus 8 is -11. -2 minus 8, oh, +2 minus 8, -6. So my solutions look like -11, -3, comma, 2, -6. Make sense? Whew, it's a lot of math.